So I had no plans of talking about this, but this instance kind of comes right off the back of a vacation that I took with my family, where in the car on the way home, my younger brother, just absolutely clocked me. For some reason, he was going back and forth sharing a lot of like, would you rather questions or something. Then out of the blue, he says, "What? I know what game you wish you could play." Like, it was something along the lines of like, of all games that you could possibly play, I know which one you would answer to if I asked you which one you would want to play the most. I worded that very weirdly, but that's about how it goes. And if you gave me a list of every game I have ever played and you asked me which one do you want to play, the answer would be Little Pirates. And he absolutely nailed it for some reason. He knew this, and he knew that I really want to play this game. The reason that I want to play this game so bad is that you can't play it anymore. This is a Reddit post that I stumbled across whenever I was pulling up the stuff that I wanted to talk about for this video. And you can see right here, this is my account actually. As you can see, this is me right here. This is me, right? From 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was trying to play this game. And I still can't. I still can't. And the reason that I'm talking about this is that there are so many games that I want to play that you just can't anymore. You cannot, or if you do, you have to jump through so many hurdles to do that. Which brings me to the conversation of the Stop Killing Games movement. Basically, if you don't know what the Stop Killing Games movement is, it's a movement started by this guy right here, Mr. Ross Scott, who basically, after the shutdown of The Crew, I think it was last year now, maybe 2 years ago now. Basically, it was a game from Ubisoft. Here, I'm going to pull up some tabs here. Where I think it was a 2014 game. So it was around for like 10 years or so. And then essentially Ubisoft shut it down and they said, you're not playing this anymore. Servers are down. Game's gone. We're revoking licenses. You don't own this game anymore. And the players were rightfully upset. When you played the game, you had to download the whole game to your system. And whenever they took the servers down, you could no longer play it. It was just gone, no longer available. And that's kind of the whole crux of this movement, is it's that these online only games should have an offline mode to play whenever the servers go down. Because there are so many online only games that exist where you cannot play them after they drop support. For example, and you know, going back to the example that I gave earlier, of course, these are all old mobile games, but these are the ones that hit me the most because, like, of my childhood growing up, I played tons. I played so many like dumb little free-to-play old mobile games, right? And some of them were genuinely really good. Some of like my actual favorite games for just no reason. And a lot of the time it's just because I was a dumb little kid, but I want to play them again. This one right here, Zombie Farm, or its successor, Zombie Life. Not necessarily a successor, they're kind of one of the same. You can't play them anymore. You cannot play them unless you do a little workaround, all right? And there is a guy working on a restoration and making it able to play. Unfortunately, you have to have like a jailbroken iPhone like 5 or something if you want to play them. I don't have that. Very, very few people do. This one is still very, very limited. Another one, Mino Monsters. This was another one from way back in the day. Can't play it anymore. However, there is a group that is working on making it playable again so that you can actually work with it. And the biggest one of all like the old mobile games from back in the day that were taken down, Infinity Blade. For some reason, this was an absolute juggernaut in the mobile games industry for like so long. And then one day, Epic just decides, hey, you can't download this anymore. You can't play this. And it might have coincided with a bunch of these older games. One of the reasons that you can't really access it is that either one, they're insecure, and on the newer devices, they have vulnerability problems. Like, I know that's a big problem with Android. There's a bunch of games that aren't supported anymore because they don't support Android's like newer accessibility features, where like, you know, the apps themselves do or don't have access to a bunch of features of the phone. You have to like, you know, update it to do that. And if the company behind them is no longer supporting the game, they're not going to update it. Or there's a big switch from 32-bit apps to 64-bit apps. And then, you know, that's another like thing. You have to completely change a ton of stuff to make it work on the newer devices. And a bunch of stuff just aren't doing that. Could you provide a translation layer from 32 to 64? Yes. Has anyone done that? No. And of course, before I jump away, Infinity Blade also, there's a big group trying to support this game as well. A lot bigger than the other games that I really want to play, but you know, it's still cool. Like there's a PC port of the mobile game now that you can play and download and run. Really cool stuff. And then the final option that I'm gonna throw onto the board here, another one, like legitimately, in my opinion, one of the best VR games that you could have ever played, Echo VR. This game was so fun. It was genuinely my favorite VR game. I maybe Half-Life Alyx would be one. Or, I mean, it's a big contender. I don't know if I would rather put this in first place or Half-Life Alyx in first place. This was a genuinely amazing game, and it got shut down because its player base dwindled. And then the studio that was holding it up said, you know, our resources could be better used elsewhere, and they shut it down. You cannot play this game anymore, unless you move to the private servers, which once again the community has pulled together to painstakingly recreate private servers for these games so that you can play it. And that's the problem. That's the problem. It shouldn't be this hard. It should not be that hard. When a game is going offline, you may, like, if for example, Echo VR, you add like a LAN option, or you give the community the ability to create private servers or stuff like that. Just because the main servers are shutting down does not mean the game has to die. But that unfortunately has been the industry standard for decades now. Of course, way back, like in like RuneScape days, you know, a lot of the games where you would log in and you would play them like completely online. In fact, like now still, if Webkins goes down, actually, you can still play Webkins, right? Okay, yeah, Webkins is still around, you can still play this. But I'm telling you, whenever Webkins goes away, right? Whenever this goes down, because as far as I'm aware, or at least Classic was, it was all hosted online, you just won't be able to play it anymore. It'll just be gone. Now, I don't know how any of this works now, I'm just using this as an example, but there was a time, way back, whenever all of these games were just online only. Like, you didn't really download anything to play them. This was another thing with a bunch of Flash games too, except it's like a different issue because they're not online games. Like, you're not like downloading the games and running them. Like, yeah, you are downloading them when you open them. Maybe this is a bad example and I should stop going off on this, because that's the whole reason why they've been preserved is because you could download them whenever you were running them. Anyways, tangent over. There is no reason for all of these games to become lost media because the developers thought it would be too much work to add a way for this game to be played offline after the servers went down. They didn't want to put in the effort to allow the community to have their own private servers. They didn't want to put in the work to, I mean, shoot, even the crew did not have to be online. The crew could have been completely played offline. In fact, if I remember correctly, whenever all this like first started going down, there is a thing built into the game itself where you could just play offline, but it was disabled, if I remember correctly. Anyways, the only reason we have this problem is because of lazy developers, maybe like time crunch or budget crunch, or even IP problems, because, you know, in a lot of instances, you could have like characters in a game. Like, I know Magic the Gathering is going through something like this. This is a different issue, but I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, so I can like speak to the relevancy for the upcoming Spider-Man set, right? For the Magic the Gathering online game, they can't have the Spider-Man cards in the game online. So they have to create a completely separate set of cards. They can print them physically on paper, they can have the Spider-Man cards, but online, they can't. And so issues like that can arise from games where like they have the rights to sell content for this thing, or like use content for this thing for this period of time, and after that period's over, they can't anymore. And so providing like the community the ability to prolong the lifespan can actually like breach contract and stuff. But all that to say, none of this should be a problem. None of it should. If any of that prevents you from making and publishing the game, you shouldn't do it. And you should have to wait until you can get around all of those things. Which is why I'm so for this whole stop killing games movement. And frankly, in my opinion, everyone should be, except for the people who are profiting off of the system that we currently have in place, which is just what makes me so sad to see that the Stop Killing Games has been accused of systematic concealment of its financial contributions because its figurehead spent too many hours volunteering to promote the campaign, which brings me all the way back to Mr. Ross Scott here. Apparently, what has happened is there has been a complaint filed against the Stop Killing Games campaign. Let me actually spell this out for you, okay? About how goofy this whole situation is, okay? So this man here does not work with the Stop Killing Games initiative. He speaks with the people who run it a lot of the time, but he isn't like a part of it. He might have started up, or not even started, but like super publicized the initiative and really like helped give it its roots, but he's not like a part of it. He's not in the in-group. He talks with a lot of people in the in-group, but he's not part of it. His only contribution is making a ton of videos on it over and over again. And as you can see on the views of his channel, 500,000, 508,000, 662,000, 170,000, like, you know, once a week, $500,000, $600,000 video. This just speaking from an analytical standpoint, this is solid money, right? And so, yes, he completely believes in the cause, right? And he's working to make it happen, and he wants it to happen. But the so-called spending of his time towards this campaign, it is a very clear and easy argument to say that this is how he makes his living, even if it's not. Okay, even if it's not where he gets the majority of his money, a very, very quick, rough estimate on Social Blade, I have absolutely no clue who this guy is or how he lives, that's livable money. That is a livable amount of money. On the lowest end, definitely not, but if you take like even below the middle of that range, it is more than enough. And so the fact that he spends so much time dedicating to this cause is really a no-brainer in my mind. And it makes it really easy to dump a bunch of time into this cause, right? And because of that, he's dumped so much time into talking about this situation. He has, as a consequence, provided like an absolute ton of like outreach for the whole thing that's going on. He has been essentially the figurehead for the entire Stop Killing Games movement because he has been the guy at the front of everyone's eyes telling you what's going on. And so some anonymous actor very clearly, like this was not just some person who's like, I'm concerned about the big people on top of, I am concerned for the Ubisoft investors and I really want them to be okay by the end of this. So I'm going to do my due diligence as a good citizen and report to this organization for not reporting their funds. That's not what happened. I mean, anyone who has any sort of critical thinking skills can understand that this is someone in the industry that is trying to shut this organization down, and they have filed a complaint saying that they are underreporting funding, which is just absolutely ridiculous, and there's no way it's going to go anywhere. I hope. I'm going to continue to sit here and hope that it doesn't. Surely it doesn't, because like they've been in contact with the official like EU administrators for this whole thing, where the people who are actually running Stop Killing Games are like, hey, we've got this guy who's like doing this stuff. Is it okay if he keeps doing that? Like, so he's not like messing anything up. But they're like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. So they've been doing everything like as right and above board as they can this whole time. So surely this is not going to go anywhere. But it happened just recently, like just yesterday, and I wanted to talk about it because it's related to something that I've just been having to deal with forever. I don't think I'll ever be able to play Little Pirates again, and I wish that wasn't the case. And this is going to make that be so. This is just in the EU. I don't live in the EU, I live in America, but historically, a lot of the big changes to things that affect like a global range for something that is in the EU, for example, the iPhone charger, does make its way back over to America. And so the best way to get these changes changed here is to support them in the EU first. And so I'm going to pray to God that this goes through and this happens, because I do not want anyone else growing up to have to feel the pain of never being able to play their childhood games again, because they're just gone and they're never coming back. Anyways, that's all. That's all I have to say. Bye.